Day 5 of Session. For those of you that have been here with us the whole time, things start to get real. Or maybe they start to get real at day 1 or day 2. But I know especially when there's a light at the end of this beautiful tunnel, um, it can start to be a slog. Another 30 minutes of looking at my life. Another 30 minutes of dealing with my mind. And I know we've probably all talked about this a million times, but that place where it sucks, where it's hard, where it's boring, where it's frustrating, almost even when you feel sick of sitting, sick from sitting, if you really stick with it and push through, that's when some pretty powerful shit can happen. But forget I said anything. Just stick with it. So I've been talking about the Diamond Sutra. I know I've talked about it before, but it's just so good. I just love how pokey it is. It's like tuna, all kinds of pokey. Poke, sorry. So yeah, Diamond Sutra, we think it's from around the 2nd century AD. It's a Chinese text put in the context of one of the early sutras. The Buddha is having a conversation with Subhuti, and they investigate all kinds of facets of the Dharma, having this give and take. And one thing, as I was reading, trying to prepare for today, I noticed that, I don't know if you've noticed, but they kind of go back and forth with the Buddha saying, Subhuti, the Dharma is blah, 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 blah. Using language like, and why is that so? Because blah, 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 blah. And then Subhuti will kind of say the same thing. Honorable one, the Dharma is blah, 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 and why so? Blah, 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 blah. And it really does kind of a beautiful job of blurring that line between teacher and student, guest and host. They're really just kind of playing with each other and having fun. And that's really nice. I like that vibe of this Diamond Sutra. So let's see. We left off at chapter 8. And this one's really interesting. The Buddha says, Subhuti, what do you think? If some noble son or daughter filled the billion worlds of this universe with the 7 jewels and gave them as a gift to the Tathagatas, the fully enlightened ones, would the body of merit produced as a result by this noble son or daughter be great? So the 7 jewels, I actually had to look that up, but I guess in some early Buddhist texts, the 7 jewels refers to basically the 7 aspects of an enlightened ruler. That's why he says, if a noble son or daughter. So the 7 jewels are, oh wait, I think I might have it. Nope, just kidding, I lost it. But it's something like a Dharma wheel to spread the Dharma, a queen, a minister, a general, an elephant, a horse, and something else. But these are the 7 jewels of the enlightened ruler. So, if a son or daughter, some noble son or daughter, some elite person, leader, filled the billion worlds of this universe with the 7 jewels, the 7 aspects of good leadership, good ruling, and gave them as a gift to the Tathagatas, gave them as a gift to the Buddhas, would the body of merit produced as a result of this be great? So, forget nobles, if anyone, because we're all kind of leaders of our own life. So, if we were to garner and foster these jewels of like good living and then present it to the Buddhas, to people, to the Dharma, this kind of good ruling that we have, would that be a lot of merit? Would that be good? Subhuti answers, Great Buddha, the body of merit produced as a result would be great. How so? Whatever is said by the Tathagata to be a body of merit is said by the Tathagata to be no body. Thus does the Tathagata speak of a body of merit as a body of merit. Oh, God, it's so confusing. So, what's he saying? This body of merit. So, I cultivate, practice, uh, work on, enhance my life so that I have the right tools and the right people and the right leadership and the right elephant. Um, and then I want to give that to the world. I want to offer that to the people. And Subhuti says, yes, there is merit in that, insofar as there's no such thing as merit. Body of merit. The Tathagata speaks of a body of merit as no body. So, yeah, thus does the Tathagata speak of a body of merit as body of merit. So, only in the sense that we really let go of merit, of goodness, of righteousness, only from that space can we truly produce merit. It's almost like the three tenets almost kind of comes through there, right? So not knowing that is the ultimate source. And then from there, we bear witness. And then from the bearing witness, then we can kind of make our jewels. We can make our merit. But without this non-knowing, without this totally letting go, without this seeing, truly seeing no body, then holding on to some idea of merit just becomes an idea. Um, so then the Buddha says, Subhuti, if instead of filling the billion worlds of this universe with the seven jewels, this noble son or daughter grasped but one four-line gatha of this Dharma teaching and made it known and explained it in detail to others, the body of merit produced as a result would be immeasurably, infinitely greater. And how so? Subhuti, from this is born the unexcelled perfect enlightenment of Tathagatas. Remember yesterday when he said, there is no unexcelled perfect enlightenment. But we have to let go of that too. From this are born Buddhas. And how so? Buddha Dharmas, Subhuti, are spoken of by the Tathagata as no Buddha Dharmas. Thus are they called Buddha Dharmas. So I think we see a theme here, and I don't want to beat a dead jewel horse to death. So we don't have to get too much into that. Dharma, Buddha Dharma is no Buddha Dharma. we've already been sitting with that. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. I don't want to waste more words on that. But I do appreciate this stanza of, if instead of giving 7 jewels, if instead of looking at the aspects of my life, my service, my money, my patience, my generosity, my peace, all these like labels, all these things that we really want to hold on to, these candles that we talked about yesterday. Because those are good. Candles are great. And there's merit in that insofar as that there's no such thing as merit, and that's awesome. That's how we manifest. Um, but he says if instead of that, these nobles grasped even one little bit of this teaching of no dharma and no dharma, completely letting go, total Tao. I don't know, I'm running out of ways to say the same thing. Um, the result would be immeasurably, infinitely greater. Um, and so to try to illustrate or kind of reinforce how it's greater to simply just understand a little bit of not knowing um, than it is to be the best ruler, the best worker, the best monk, the best servant, the best teacher, the best writer, the best. Bleh. How much better is it to let go? I did want to read from a koan from the Blue Cliff Record. This is from a translation that I just learned about from Matthew Jukson Sullivan. And his collection is called The Garden of Flowers and Weeds. And oh, look, Egyoku has a commentary on the back. Huh. This book is fabulous. Just saying. I don't really know who Matthew Jukson Sullivan is, but he is a G. His commentary is amazing. Just my 2 cents. Let's see. We want 86. Sorry. Okay. Yunmen is the star of this koan. In Japanese, I believe he's Uman. Yunmen raised the words, within each and every person is a radiance. Look for it, and it is lost in darkness, dim and faint. What is everybody's radiance? He answered himself, the pantry and the triple gate. He also said, a good thing is not as good as nothing. I love that. So Uman or Yunmen is speaking to his assembly. He's giving a teisho, or just whatever, just a random gathering. And he says, within each and every person is a radiance. He just states that as fact. Do you see that? Your radiance? Do you feel it? And then he says, if you look for it, it is lost in darkness, dim and faint. And that shows up a lot. Like in the Jewel Mirror Samadhi chant that we do, it says, um, basically, you can't turn towards it and you can't run away from it, for it is like a massive fire. Another koan in the Mumonkan says, someone asks, should I turn towards it? And the master says, if you turn towards it, you betray your own practice, or something like that. Because, yeah, you are your radiance, just as I am, is the radiance right now. And if I try to look for it, if I try to spot it, if I maybe have an experience of it during session and then I sit later and I'm like, okay, how do I get there again? Which I don't know about you, but I still do that shit like all the time. Oh, that was such a deep zazen period. I'm gonna do the same thing and get to that same place. And of course, what happens is it gets very dim and very faint. And so then he says, what is everybody's radiance? Which right there is it. No one says anything, so he answers himself. He says, the pantry and the triple gate. So this is kind of very common koan stuff. What is your radiance? What is your true self? What is your enlightened self? And so he says here the pantry and the triple gate. The triple gate, as Shoyu and I saw in Japan, is a kind of traditional entrance to a temple. There's like three, can't even describe it. It's like one gate, but there's like three parts of it, I guess. Anyway, we saw some. We saw some like giant ones. So, and for Uman and his people, that's their life, is the monastery. But for us, what is my radiance? It's the door to my home and my kitchen and raccoons foraging for nuts or whatever they forage for while we're trying to sit zazen. And 83 degrees in the yurt. And fatigue. So fatigued. That's the radiance. And so to look for it is so stupid because we're coming up against it all the time. It's like, it's really like trying to look for your own sight. It's an interesting one. See if you can find your sight. It's a silly thing to say. I think it's kind of the same deal. Constantly experiencing this radiance. And then he also says, a good thing is not as good as nothing. So I thought this was relevant to this Diamond Sutra because that's kind of what he's saying, right? In the first part, he's like, so what if this noble son or daughter does all this good stuff and offers it as a gift to, uh, let's say, all the Dharmas? Here he says to all the Buddhas, but let's say to everybody, to everything. Um, that's great. That's great. Um, be of service. Uh, manifest your life in a good way. Do good for others. That's one of the three pure precepts, right? Don't do evil, do good for others. So that's great. Um, body of merit. But then he said, how much better, how much more, immeasurably greater it would be to experience nothing. And then, the language he uses here is, experience that Dharma teaching and then explain it in detail to others. Um, you know, explaining is like a tricky word, right? But let's just say sharing, right? To really grasp this nothing, no body, no merit, no dharmas. It's just freedom, total freedom. And as we talked about earlier, it's scary. It's scary to have the very ground beneath your feet just be completely taken away. That's what not knowing feels like, I think, for me. And yeah, it's a little scary, and our little self wants to resist that so much. All those voices of like, oh God, another day of sesshin, all of that is this little ego just doing what it can to assert itself. Let's do something good instead. Um, but yeah, sesshin, hours and hours and days and years of just being this. Not looking for anything, but just inviting this inherent radiance that's all around us and within us. Um, then just witness the body of merit that just comes oozing out of you in your day to day life. So, congratulations.